Hi, Mark here from the Tangent-Bound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangent-Bound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangent-Bound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangentBoundNetwork.com and see if Tangent-Bound Network is right for you.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to The Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening, and with me, as always, we have Brian and Henno. Hey, guys.
Howdy.
Well, hello there.
Well, we're just getting all fancy in here, aren't we?
Did Deb show up?
No, I didn't pull the, oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, oh, hello. I didn't notice you there.
I didn't notice you.
Yep.
Well, before we get started, we do have a new member of the Crazy Life podcast family that just got joined. And if you follow Henno on Facebook, you already know and have seen our new little podcast member. And that would be Benny.
Benny.
Yep.
Benny. Benny and Jets.
Our new editor.
Song.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we just
He's
have
got-
to channel his energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got, we came up, so when he's the devil, he's Beniago, because that's a dark elf from the Dungeons and Dragons world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then when it's Benjamin when he's in trouble.
Right. That's understandable. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I actually called him Benson a couple times, which was weird, but I think that's from Jackson, because they used to call Jax Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
That was Jackson's full name was Jackson, but I only used it like some of the times. Most of the time it was Jaxie.
Right.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, but dogs have to have multiple names.
Oh, totally. I think everyone with a pet, the pet has like 17 different names at least.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, like
And
my cat's Callie, and I call her Callie Cat all the time, or I'll call her Alley Cat, and I just have a bunch of other stupid names that I'll just call her, and every time I do, she looks up at me like, oh, what? You know? So, because they always sound something like her name. Actually, I call her Butthead more than anything.
I
Because
was going to say, there's usually a series of names that are not quite appropriate.
yeah, no, I mean, it's literally Butthead because she headbutts stuff. You know, a lot of cats will tap things with their head because they have scent glands on their head, so they will tap things to put their scent on things. Like a lot of cats, if a cat headbutts you, that's what they're doing, is they're basically marking you. And so she does this to anything. If you hold anything near her face, she will like butt her head against it. Like she'll just be walking by, like we have stools, you know, around like a breakfast counter kind of thing, and she will walk by those and just bonk her head right into it. So I call her Butthead all the time.
We have Otis and Molly, and they have so many different nicknames, but the one that's the most popular is it's Momo and Bobo.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, Momo for Molly, and Bobo came from Odibo, and then Bo went to Bobo.
Yeah.
So,
Odibo sounds like it should be like his rap name, or if he was a DJ or something, you know.
So yeah, or Eeyore and Tigger. Because we definitely have an Eeyore and a Tigger for sure, 100%.
Yeah, the other song that I've been singing a lot is Heart Shaped Butt. Because Benny actually has the way his little back end is and his little tail, it looks like he's got a little heart.
Oh, man. So what you're saying is when people get their Christmas cards this year, if it's sealed with a heart, like we know what happened.
Yeah. I'll tell you, like I always talk about, you know, there's nothing better to get you out of, you know, yourself and grief or that kind of stuff than service. And boy, there is service in a puppy dog. Like, whoo, not a lot of sleeping going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they take a lot of effort for sure.
It's unbelievable. And then what's great though is communication is so important with Sharon and myself now. It's like, okay, who's doing what, who's got what, what's your day, what do you need to do, and then so much of it is based on, okay, is he able to do this yet? I got a great one. So we got this little mini bassinet for him, and he was in the bassinet when Sharon went into the post office, and she comes out of the post office and there's a lady by the car with, you know, like with some attitude, and it's like, how dare you leave your baby in the car? And Sharon's like, baby? Oh, would you like to see my baby?
Would you like to see my baby? Careful, he likes to lick faces.
And you know what? I don't blame the woman at all.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Yeah. But I put all anything that I'm posting about Benny, I'm making public on my Facebook page. So you don't even have to friend me. You can just go check it out because it's public.
Yeah.
And it's worth it because those pictures in the videos are absolutely adorable.
Yeah.
So you want a good smile, a good giggle.
Well, seriously, who doesn't like to watch cute animal videos? I mean, that's, you know, even if people don't admit to it, you know, somewhere in their YouTube search history, there's cute puppies, cute cat or kittens, you know, cute panda bears. There's something like that in there, you know.
What's fun is, like, I've been on this French Bulldog enthusiast site on Facebook for a long time now, and every time I see a little puppy, or on Instagram because I follow all the hashtags, and there's just something really cute that a little black French Bulldog does, and I'm always showing it to Sharon, and I'm just like, we got one now ourselves. Yay. Yeah, but he's been, it really is, and it really, there was a lot of, when we went to go get him in Oregon, there was still some fear, you know, and uncertainty and not sure, because, you know, it's a big, I mean, we've literally never seen the dog, don't even know these people. It just felt like the right thing. And we jumped in the car right after work, drove to as far as we could to this one town in Oregon, stayed in a hotel room that was wow. there's maintenance, and then there's none, and then there's can barely pull the shower handle to get it started. Have to yank on the front door to get out. It was like,
wait, no. So compare it to the room me and Jen stayed in, the murder room that we had. Is it worse or near that, or is that what you're saying, or?
Yeah, it wasn't quite that.
Because that room, I felt like I needed to sit with my back against the door to make sure no one came in.
Yeah, no, that wasn't as bad as like the Super 8 in Wells, Nevada, where I literally stripped everything off and used my own T-shirts and clothing to sleep on. Oh, and shoved the door. It had one of those, pass-through doors to the next room over. I stuck the desk on that with a couple of chairs. Like, whew. But yeah, no, it wasn't that bad, and
but still pretty sketchy.
Funny about it. Yeah, and it's funny because it was it was now Wyndham Hotels, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if Wyndham wants their name attached to this.
That's how we felt when we stayed in that room, because that was a Motel 6, and again, I know Motel 6 isn't known for being like, swanky or anything, but you figure the chain that it is, it's a pretty consistent stay. I've stayed in Motel 6s, I don't know how many times in my life, and they've all been basically like, okay, here's your $50 a night room or whatever, it's consistent. Yeah. And boy, that one wasn't. That was easily the worst room I've ever stayed in.
Folks, it actually had a rotary phone.
Ooh, that's...
Yeah.
We took pictures of it because it was so weird to see.
This one, basically, there were no cover plates on the outlet, so you can just stick a metal anything in there and get electrocuted. In this one, this was
nice.
Fancy.
Yeah.
You didn't splurge for the room with the outlet cover?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't catch that checkbox.
Like you're calling the front desk, and you're like, there's no towels, sheets on the bed, pillows, covers over the electrical outlets. And they're like, oh, well, you didn't say you wanted the deluxe room.
Exactly.
What do you think this is? Come on now.
You just walk in, it's an empty room with an air mattress that only mostly inflates.
Exactly.
It's got a really slow leak.
As soon as you sit on it.
Yeah.
As soon as you sit on it, it leaks all out.
Yeah.
So we got to Oregon the next day, and it was funny. Darcy sent a message like, "Hey, what's your ETA?" I'm like, "We're here." And we pull up, and they had a nice lot. This is it was right on the Rogue River in Oregon, and beautiful area, but just big spreads, lots of space, and they'd set up their house with, you see a bunch of dog runs. There's dogs everywhere. They do Frenchies and pugs, and came in. You can see they cleaned up a little bit, and the funny thing was, so it'd be Darcy's boyfriend's dad comes out right away with Benny, and she's like, no, like, we still got to do contract stuff, and this will be distracting. I'm like, I've waited 2 weeks. I can wait another 20 minutes.
What are you talking about? Giving somebody a puppy couldn't possibly be distracting.
Right, yeah. Well, that was the other thing and no crying, because the minute I saw him, I was like, oh my God. And so Sharon was walking Bogart outside somewhere, and we did the whole transaction, and we're sitting there, and I'm just going to call him the father-in-law. I'd mentioned something about having to move all my gear, because they're, like practically a recording studio in here, and there's just cables everywhere for a dog to get into. And he says, hey, can I ask you a couple questions? I got this electronic drum set, and I used to play when I was younger, and I'm trying to get back into it. And he just had some questions about how to get like a little mixer or whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, you totally do this and blah blah blah. And the guy's probably 60-ish or so. I'm like, good for you for doing that. I was like, I started playing, took up the bass, something I never did, and it really just fired up my brain again to try to learn something new. And as he's going on and talking, and then he says, something about his recovery group. And I'm like, really? I'm like, Sharon and I both, sober over 10 years, and that's when Darcy's boyfriend started saying, yeah, that dad basically hit a bottom 6 months ago, like in the hospital kind of bottom.
Oh, wow.
And, he's staying with them trying to get sober, and, he's got, 6 months or whatever it was. And I was like, boom, here's another, because when her boyfriend came in, he's like, I said something about snow, and he's like, where are you from? I'm like, oh, Sun Valley, Idaho. And he's like, Idaho? He's like, have you even seen this dog before? And I'm like, nope. I'm like, this is the first time. I had a 25-minute conversation, saw the video, and it just felt right. And I just said, and then I find out, he customizes Harleys, and then this happens, and I'm just like, yeah, that's why I'm here. Like, something was just told me that this was the right thing. Mm-hmm. And, there were, like I said, there were these little bits of fear and stuff, but every single time everything worked out just right. And we picked them up. And the only thing we did wrong was I brought him right into the car, and that's Bogart's space. And so Bogart got really upset, but we're 10 minutes away from a hotel. And that was the best thing we did, because we were there in the afternoon. And so we checked right into the hotel, and yeah, we could have hit the road. It would have been nice to, get back earlier, but that bonding time to kind of work it out a little bit was really important. And Sharon had a friend nearby that had moved nearby that area, so they did a little girls' night, and I just stayed in the hotel room with the boys and got to know Benny and everything. And next morning, got up after not sleeping much and hit the road, and 10-hour drive will end up being about 11. Got back late Saturday night, and yeah, it's been pretty fun ever since then. And, yeah. And then we got freaking dumped on the last 2 days of snow. Like, there was no, I got done at literally at the time that we usually podcast 2 nights ago. I was like, yeah, I still need to eat. The next day I was eating so much food because I was just burning so many calories. Again, got done to 6 at night, just like I was so tired. And
you were like a wrestler. I'm sorry, you were like a wrestler the day after weigh-in.
yeah, just like
give me all of the carbs.
Yeah, everything. Like 2 days in a row, over 35,000 steps. Like,
oh, man.
15 miles. I mean, it was just,
jeez.
Yeah, and then today I had to do it again. I had to do my own house. So,
man,
it was great though, because it was like I needed that. I needed to get out and move. I needed to kind of kind of kick some butt.
I have a question for you about that, because was this like the first real test of that new snowblower of yours?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Was it worth it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I figured so.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, it was worth every penny of that Midwest-made machine.
That's right.
Yeah, especially the heated grips.
Yeah.
That was awesome. The heated grips and the lights that come on by themselves, those are the best.
Yeah. It's so understandable why you got those, but that's so bougie, like like, oh, my snowblower has heated grips, yours doesn't.
Yeah. Exactly.
I just love it so much. But if I were in the same boat, I would get that too, because like I took my garbage out today, and just the walk to the end of the driveway and back, my hands were freezing because it was like I think it was like 12 degrees here, this morning. I came in and I got like the hot water on. I'm running my hands underneath it. So yeah, if I had heated grips for many things, I'd be all for it.
Oh, absolutely, all the time.
Yeah.
So that was a good. It was the perfect kind of days because, again, not sleeping much. It's just a no-brainer. I know exactly what I'm going to do, and I can't. There's no catching up. You're never going to get ahead when you're getting feet of snow every day, which we don't usually get. We don't. We'll get it occasionally, but we don't usually get this much in one shot. Yeah. And then the funny part of my house was I got everything done all around the house, and then the roof let go. I'm like,
oh. Well, really quick for clarity, I'm assuming you mean when you say the roof let go, like all the snow on the roof let go, right? Okay.
Slid.
Yeah, not the roof just caved in.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
all the snow slid off the sides, which means it kind of comes back into the walkways and
Yeah.
everything that I just cleared off.
The way my
Like,
brother's
yeah,
house is like that, even though the garage, it should go the opposite way of, like, there's a pathway in between his house and the garage. And if, like, when the snow comes down, like, if there's any wind or whatever, it will literally just blow right into that pathway. And he'll have a nice clean path. And then, and now he's got to go out and shovel all over. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the sound.
Yeah, just like, ah.
So the obviously the biggest thing I've got going is the puppy, but it still amazes me how much I make the tools that I have into. Sharon and I were listening to I got an audio book from a dog trainer, and we were listening to that on the way out, and the thing that got me was that those fears again, like legitimate fears. I'd be part of a dog group, various different breeds, and there's two puppies that died within 8 months from distemper, and then a Frenchie that ended up with parvo, and all their viruses that they have, and everything you have to be careful about. And then and then I'm like thinking about, like, well, what if a bird sweeps down and picks them up in the middle of the night? Like all these things. And then there's just the is Bogart, they get to get along, and it's just like, no, get back into the moment, back into the things. And like, it was my first day back at work on after we got him. I had like the biggest cry over Jax, but it was different this time. It felt different. It was a legitimate, I don't know what it was. It was a release of some sort.
Yeah.
And again, it's like that gratitude, be in the moment, do what you need to do to you prioritize.
Right.
It's like there wasn't a whole lot of me sitting down playing video games. It's like my routine's done. It's all about a puppy.
Yeah.
And then both of us, like, I really appreciated the nights where Sharon's like, okay, I'll take him out tonight. You try to get some sleep. And so, like, then last night was my turn. He was out by me, and she got some sleep. And so again, it's just like all these things that when I take what I've learned and apply it to any given situation, the situation tends to be better, and I tend to have, things go pretty smooth. And if I fight those things, and if I fight everyone and everything, they don't go so smooth. So It's like, okay, another reminder, and it's that thing where I go, this is why I'm sober, and this is why I keep doing the things that I'm doing. Like Sharon was sharing me about when she picked up her first dog, Brody. She's like, wow, I was so freaking hungover, like having freaking head down the window, head out the window, ready to lose my cookies. Like, I'm picking up this puppy. It's like, no wonder the puppy was ill-behaved. And like now we're going over.
Attitude reflects leadership, right?
That's it, exactly. And then it's just the thing of like don't go too far, and do it. It's wild. It's wild how, like, neither one of us ever thought about being a parent, and yet we're taking this responsibility so seriously. It's like, well, yeah, maybe we could have done that. We chose not to still, but that's fine.
Right.
But it just feels good. It's like, it's like I want to give this little guy the best chance he has to be healthy and happy and have a good disposition. So
yeah.
So that about sums up my couple weeks. I do need to get back at, like, my commitments, like band stuff and other music stuff and things that I've made connections with. It's like I've dropped everything this last month. This month has pretty much been. Like I hadn't even sent a condolence card to my brother-in-law for for his mom dying. So I finally got a card and wrote that out today. And it's just like, all right, now get back into the routine, get back in touch with stuff. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be, woohoo, let's do this. But
that was nice of you to do that, though. Because most of us don't really send handwritten letters or cards or anything for that kind of stuff now. Most of the time it'd be that condolence text or whatever instead. So, I'm sure he'll appreciate that you went, took that extra step to do that. Even, especially because he knows what's going on with your life too. So,
exactly, that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. So a little extra bit, and Yeah, so that's about what's going on with me.
All right.
Nice. Well, I'll go next. So everybody has heard on the show how I feel about people coming over to my house and how I get all anxious and a lot of anxiety around, and feeling judged even though they're not judging me and all this other stuff. Well, we're going through a refinance, and today an appraiser came over literally to judge my house.
I love it. And it's one of those things where they come over and you've done all this work and they spend like 5 minutes in there and you're like, what? How?
Yeah. It's no different than like when I worked at a video store, the health department would come in because we sold candy and like popcorn and stuff, So the health department would still come in, and there's still, obviously there's still laws you have to follow. And we would get everything, make sure, like, okay, we got to make sure this and this and this. And, we did things right anyway, but it was still the idea that you want to, like, fine-tooth comb, like, make sure it's perfect, And then, like you said, they're in there for, like, 5 minutes, and like, oh, everything looks great. See you whenever we see you again. And it's like, really? Like, we spent, like, our whole shift last night cleaning and doing extra stuff.
Like, I killed myself in this place.
5 minutes, you barely looked at anything, and then just said, all right, see ya.
And, and it's just, it's so tough because you don't want to overtalk. And what do I do when I get nervous is I overtalk. And, I feel it went really well. I mean, in a nutshell, lots of anxiety ahead of time, lots of lead up to it, lots of me fixing things and running around like a crazy person and stuff. But the guy was really super nice, was in the house for only like about 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Ended up going to the pole barn and seeing and measuring out the property and stuff like that. So it should be good. We're hoping that it comes in at a certain point at a certain price. So if we meet that price, great. If we don't, then we have some backup stuff that we can do. So
right, like arson. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. No, I'm kidding, of course. I don't know how it all caught on fire. I swear.
Exactly, but no, it'll be good. It's going to be good. And yes, that is a little pep talk for myself.
Well, here's something I'll guarantee you. It's going to be what it's supposed to be.
That's it.
Yes.
I hated so much growing up whenever somebody would give you that kind of advice.
Yeah.
But as an adult, it's like, yeah, that really is, that really is what it is.
I have absolutely no control.
Yeah, exactly. That's really what they're trying to tell you at that point, but you're just like, of course it's going to be, you're not getting that it's like, oh, actually that's kind of a clear your head thought is the point,
Yeah.
It's funny how it ends up having more to do with other people's business than your own, which is kind of funny. It's like they come in and they evaluate your business, but then they literally compare you to everything else in your area. And then sometimes they'll do some comparisons with stuff that's not quite in your area, but hey, it's the only thing that's probably comparable to this. And that's literally like, there's nothing you could do about it. It's literally the market.
Yep.
And that's really what it comes down to. The really tough part, and I was very happy to hear that the person that came is a local person.
Yes.
My area is not a standard area. Like all the different lots are different sizes. Yep. They're different.
The houses are very different. Yeah.
Yes, different sized houses, different levels of construction type houses. There's, just basic construction. Then you got little McMansions down the street.
Yeah.
And
it really is funny in that area where you are. You can go 2 streets one way and have, like you said, mansions almost. You go 2 streets the other way and they're just normal houses. Then there's a few that are just kind of those in between or spread big houses. It's a very weird area up here. And it's because there's been building over different eras in this area, because for a while there was only a small area that they were allowed to build housing in. then that grew and it's grown and it's grown and it's grown. So there's like all these new waves. It's almost like, you'd expect to go in some of the houses and you're like, oh, white appliances. Oh, stainless steel. Oh, these ones are black. Oh, these ones have induction heat. It's like you just expect the different eras almost because the way this area is. It's so weird how, I know every city can have that, but it's so strange how up here it literally can be like one street over. It's not like, oh, there's this whole neighborhood. It's like, oh, no, that's just that street, There's a subdivision right there,
We have a lot of horse farms, so there's places with lots of acreage. Then you got places that have like less than half an acre or a quarter of an acre because they're in like subdivisions and stuff. So, our lot is a wooded lot, and most of the lots around here are farm lots.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets really complicated when you're trying to compare because there's really no such thing as an apple to apple up here.
No, there's not. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just trying to compare apples to oranges. So if you're not comfortable with the area or familiar with the area, it's almost impossible to do an adequate appraisal,
right.
Which had that problem initially when we were first buying the house.
Yeah.
Is that the appraisal was just wackadoo because the guy was not from the area and didn't know how to appraise like the pole barn we have and then the land that we have and stuff. So it should be interesting to see what the final result is. But the key is I have no control. I did the best I could do and put my best foot forward, and that's about it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
You had a nice tray of $100 bills out for him on the coffee table, and yeah.
Oh, I did do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta put out the hors d'oeuvres.
So the house smells good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotta make the house smell good, and put the bribe right next to it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you got to be a good hostess. I mean, that's.
Yeah. Duh, right? What else? Oh, and so my world's been getting a little bit too small again, which go figure with COVID and everything else.
Right.
It's always been an ongoing struggle with me, and it's, with COVID making it so much worse. I've been hesitant to take on another project because we did end my other podcast I was doing.
Right.
But I've been kind of hesitant to take on other projects. I'm waiting for an inspiration or something to happen. So I've been kind of sitting in this like waiting period, just kind of waiting to see inspiration or something to come up. All of a sudden, a good cousin of mine contacted me, and she's having a bunch of ladies at her house for a game night. And it's a bunch of women that she has been hanging out with for a very long time. And it was really kind of cool because it was unexpected. We had talked about it before, but I didn't know it was coming. And I've been wanting to expand my world back out again, and this is a really wonderful way to meet a bunch of great people and in a fun setting, and to kind of go out there and enjoy myself and to get out of the house. So I was very excited to find that out. So I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. Next weekend.
Fun.
Yeah,
Nice.
So that should be fun.
Yeah.
And see how that goes. And then I made a dinner date with a good friend of mine for a couple weeks from this week. So that'll be good. And I made some plans with my mom to do a couple things. And she wants to have like a weekly dinner date. So I'm it's like without me going out and doing a lot of digging, it's kind of like I sowed some seeds and it's starting to produce a little fruit, if that makes sense. I didn't try to force a situation. I didn't try to go out and take on a big project. I just kind of sat back and just let it unfold in front of me and kind of just let it kind of take me where it was going to go.
Yeah.
And
It's funny how
I'm-
much better a kite blows when you let the wind blow it instead of you trying to move it around.
this is
You know?
true.
Like you just throw it in the air and you're like, why aren't you flying?
This is true. It's much easier to float downstream than it is to swim up.
Yeah.
So, and it's really been very helpful. Just to kind of sit and just let it happen. So that's been kind of cool. And thirdly, that's the other thing I wanted to talk about, you guys. So I've been experimenting with different things when it comes to my sleep. I do have an appointment on Tuesday with the doctor, so I'm going to follow up with her and talk to her about getting the sleep schedule or the sleep study actually scheduled and get that taken care of finally. Because as my doctor is very much likes to say, if it is becoming a hindrance to you living the best life you can live, that's when you want to take action. And I truly feel that it's hindering my best life. And I'm getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night, plus I can do naps and I can fall asleep at any time. So, which is not horrible, but it's not good either. It's really inhibiting some of my productivity and, and just not allowing me to live my best life. So
yeah, because if you work, come home and you're like, oh, I need a nap before I can do anything, there's an hour. You know, then if you're, like the way you are right now, it's like after like 10 o'clock, you start getting really sleepy usually. So it's like that gives you such a short window to really do anything you want or need to do. So like you said, that can clearly, cut into the quality of your life if,
exactly.
Versus being able to just do what you want or need to do at that point. So yeah, that's good. Hopefully that'll, I don't know, because I don't know what their next step will be after something like that. So I'm very curious about this as well.
Well, there's a lot of family history.
Yeah.
With this, which is the other reason that my psychiatrist wanted me to go through the process, is because there is a super strong family history of oversleeping. So it's going to be interesting. A lot of people are curious to hear what happens, because I'm the first person that's ever pursued going to like a sleep study for it.
Right.
Everyone else has just kind of dealt with it.
Yeah,
and,
right.
We deal with the stories of people falling asleep while playing cards or going to the bathroom and not coming back, and all that good stuff.
Yep.
All the funny stories. I've fallen asleep at a restaurant before. I mean, yeah. It's always fun. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's part of who we are, but there might be something that can help. So
well, and that's the thing is there's also potential, like you said, with there being a family history of it. If you find out that there's something that can be done for it, it might help X amount of people directly related to you, maybe, or at least then they can go get a study done or consider it or whatever. So it might not just be about you on this one. It literally could be that you're doing it for yourself, but at the same time, like you said, the ripple from it could positively impact others in your life too. So that could be kind of interesting. Plus, I'm sure they're like, well, glad she's the guinea pig. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and it's going to be curious because neither the doctor nor I truly think that it's like narcolepsy.
right.
Because it's not that severe, though there is different variations of narcolepsy and severities of narcolepsy. But having known someone with it and have seen their reaction, it's not the same.
Yeah. From my experiences with you and stuff, it's usually more after, as the night goes on, it seems like your draw to sleep gets stronger until it's, you cannot fight it anymore.
Exactly.
It
It's not
doesn't
a
feel
sudden-
like snap your fingers and you're asleep most of the time. And don't get me wrong, I remember times where you would come in from work and basically, I remember you directly telling me, if we need to do something, we need to go do it. Because once I sit down on the couch, like I'm done. And I don't just mean, I'm tired today, but this was something that happened enough that I knew basically when you got home, I should be ready to go if we needed to go somewhere so that we could, get it done and everything. Because there was an element of, once you sat on the couch, there were times that it was, so yeah.
There's pictures of me falling asleep with my arms stretched out, remote in hand, changing the channel, and I'm just falling asleep as I change the channel. Yeah. I mean, it's endless. I mean, pretty much everyone who's known me can share a story of, and falling asleep at this point.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
It is.
Yep.
It's part of me.
Yeah. So
I
like
can't
I said,
help it.
I am very curious to see, if you go, if you end up having a sleep study, what the results of that are,
Yeah. I mean, it might be something that I'm not getting enough REM, and a CPAP machine is appropriate.
Yeah.
I am heavier, for those that haven't seen a picture of me. So it is not out of the realm of possibility that I'm not sleeping as well as I'm thinking I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
It's real common and a real easy solution. So maybe I need a CPAP. So we'll find out.
Yeah. And even though you'll deny it, I mean, you do snore like a wildebeest, so.
I do not. My pillow snores. I do not.
Oddly enough,
I have
every
very
pillow she's
noisy
bought
pillows.
snores. It's very weird.
I have a very noisy pillow.
But again, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, because you can snore, and like me, generally if I snore, it's because I'm having sinus issues, because half the time I can't breathe out of one of my nostrils. So
Yeah.
I probably
Depends on the position I'm in.
yeah, exactly, same here. Like if I lay on my back, I'll snore all night. I literally, and I get the worst sleep because I'm not really sleeping. I'm basically snoring through the night. So I'd rather, I pretty much don't. The only reason I lay on my back at times in bed is basically just to stretch my back out, because I'll lay there and just stretch my limbs out as far as I can, kind of a thing, and whatever. But that otherwise, when it's time to really go to sleep, it's like, okay, which side am I turning to? So.
Yeah. Well, that's what I got.
All
So
right.
how are you, Brian?
Boy, it's been a week for me. 'Cause I, once again, we didn't record last week, so I didn't even talk about this on here. I talked about it on Salty Language. Had a situation where I ran out of my antidepressant again and had to cold turkey it. Now, one thing that was nice was I had some of a lower dose that I was able to use as a backup, and then as the ordeal strung out to where I wasn't able to get a new prescription in when I needed it, I basically started weaning myself down. So I was going from, I'm normally on 20 milligrams of what I'm on. I was taking, the last few days before I went completely off of it, I was taking 10 milligrams a day. So I basically stepped myself off of it without really intending to do that. My intention was, 10 in my system is better than 0 in my system.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I'm going to basically stretch this out as long as I can. And I ran out, which is really scary now, because if something like this happens again, I have no backup and I can't get backup, because the way I got that backup was when they upped my dosage, I still had some of the 10 milligrams left. So I just was like, well, I'll keep this as, in case. And my doctor's office used to get samples of the medicine I'm on, but since it's now a more commonly prescribed drug, they aren't doing the samples anymore because they don't need to push it as much because it's being prescribed a little, more frequently now. So like I said, I have 0 opportunity to get a little backup just in case. So I'm like, but anyway, I finally got my medicine today, and but I haven't taken it yet because I'll take it before I go to bed because that's when I usually take it. And I want, you're supposed to try to take them at the same time. So if I take it before I go to bed, then going forward, I'm setting myself up for my normal routine. I don't want to try to, I took it at 8:00. Now I have to remember to take it at 8, or, I'm just going to go into my normal pattern. When I take my other medicine at night, I'll take that and just whatever. But I hate the feelings of withdrawal from these antidepressants because all week I've been foggy brained, I've been cranky. I have no tolerance for small talk. I mean, you know what it does? It reminds me of post high school when my anger was really kind of at its peak. And it's weird because, like I've said over time, I had anger issues and stuff. And I look at it and I'm like, I really feel like a lot of it had to do with my unregulated depression and anxiety, because I'd get into anxious situations, which when you get anxious, you go into fight or flight. And my air quote anger issues I went into fight, and even though it was verbal, it wasn't like I was getting into fisticuffs with people, but it was still, I went into fight. And, I noticed that when I'm on antidepressants, and now that I've got better tools to use and stuff, I don't have quite the issues. I still flare up off and on, but I don't have as many. But man, this week I have just every little thing just annoys me, like just watching a commercial and something will happen and I'm just sitting there just so cynical, and I hear myself doing it and I'm like, like you almost want to step outside of yourself and go, really, dude, come on, but I know that's not, I mean, it is me, obviously, but it also isn't, because my brain is being affected by withdrawal, so, yeah, and once again, I would like to point out that we at the Crazy Life Podcast do not recommend going off your medications without speaking to your doctor and working with them to come up with a good and adequate plan to, to do that. And please don't go cold turkey. Please go talk to your doctor. Even though your doctor may urge you to stay on your medicine, if you are adamant that you're going off of it, they will help you to safely go off your medicine rather than just stop. Also, trust me, I've been through this a few times now. You don't want to go through this. This one's, I mean, like I said before, knock on wood, this medicine's not as bad as the Effexor I was on. That was brutal going through that one. That one I had effects for like a year. This one, I mean, I haven't been without this one that long, but the side effects or the withdrawal symptoms aren't as severe. Like I haven't gotten any like brain zaps or any of that stuff, which, boy, you talk about, those suck. Mm-hmm. But being foggy brained drives me absolutely crazy because, I don't feel witty. I don't feel like I can hold conversation. I don't feel like I can pay attention to things, and these are all things that I pride myself in being able to do fairly well. So now I'm just like, nope, like, like, so opposite of Henno, my week has basically been sitting and playing video games because I've needed something to, soothe the beast / distract me. But like I said, hopefully, I'll start taking that again tonight. And the worst part is when you start taking the medicines, you feel weird again for about a week or whatever. So now when I'm kind of feeling a little more even keel again, I'm going to, get right back on the roller coaster and, hopefully it won't be too bad. So, it is what it is. There was nothing I could do about it. But what I did learn from this is, especially having no backup, is that if I see I'm getting close to running out and I don't have any more, I need to basically make myself a nuisance at my doctor's office until I get what I need. Because it turned out that my psychiatrist is no longer with my doctor's group, which really stinks because I really liked her. And now I'm going to have to go through a whole new doctor. I'm going to have to get to know them. I'm going to have to, luckily with the psychiatrist, you don't have as much, well, I don't, with the ones I see, don't have it's not like seeing a new therapist where you have an intimate relationship essentially with that person because you're telling them a lot about you. The psychiatrist is more, how's the medicine working, But anyway, so yeah, that stinks, but I can't control it like you were saying, Jen. So all I can do is wait for my doctor's office to let me know that they have a new psychiatrist and then set up an appointment and go through that. Luckily, I've been on the medicine I've been on for a while. It works fairly well. So my primary care doctor can treat me or write prescriptions for it without feeling like he's overstepping, kind of a situation. So, yeah. I listened to a podcast this week that was talking, I don't remember what the topic was on now, because again, fog brain. But the guy brought up something that I wanted to kind of point out to people, that if you're the type that reads a lot of self-help columns, books, whatever, listens to podcasts, all these kind of things, and the guy points out that you have to, there were two things. There were two different interviews. The first one, the guy talks about how as you're reading on these things, you have to start implementing them because basically otherwise you just chase I don't know how to word it, but you're basically chasing the solution, but you'll never find it because all you're doing is it's like, well, I'm going to read all the things and then I'll make it, kind of like you get paralyzed by all these options instead of just basically starting to implement them and go, okay, this didn't work for me and then move to the next one kind of a thing. And I thought that was a really good point because I've known a lot of people that have done that whether it's about mental health or their job or whatever it is in their life that they end up getting paralyzed because they're looking for the solution instead of just trying things to see if something might work, or you will immediately defeat yourself because, I'm blending podcasts here. I can't think now, but because one of them I listened to, the guy talked about how the concept of, and we talked about this on here a little bit before, but how a lot of people like me, I'm a great example of this. There are times where I absolutely won't try something because I've already convinced myself I can't or I won't be able to succeed at it. Right? And basically, you'll have friends going, no, seriously, you're really good at that. You can do this. And you'll go, no, and here's why. And you'll basically put in half effort because literally all you want is that confirmation bias that you were right. So you can stay in your comfort zone. And when I'm listening to this guy and I was laughing, I'm like, I bet so many people their minds are like completely blown listening to this. Because, I don't do that. And it's like, yeah, actually most of us do, especially if you have any sort of mental illness. That's actually what you tend to do. Like the one I have. If you look up, like I have agoraphobia, and if you look it up, there's avoidance is one of the things, the major symptoms of it. And that's how I avoid things is I will start to think about doing something and go, well, I've never done that before. I'm probably going to mess it up. So I'm just going to this, or I'll do this instead. Or, you know what? I'm comfortable where I'm at. There's no sense in rocking the boat kind of a thing and just leave it alone. And it's like, well, you're totally right. It's what is that saying? It's the, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Type of a situation. And that's really what he was getting at. I thought it's just something I wanted to bring up because I think it's just really good advice that don't let, especially if it's a mental illness related, thing like depression or anxiety telling you can't do something. Especially if you have proof in your database that you can, make sure you cling to that and use it and bring it up and everything. Because I've known a few people I've talked with over the last few weeks that have really doubted themselves over something, and it's been like, no, you can, you just don't see it. And like I said at the get-go there, it was, I'm notorious for it. If you listen to all the episodes of the show, you can catch Jen and Henno saying words very similar to that to me. Like, wait, you've already done that. And you'll hear me go, nah. Or actually, what you'll hear from me, the next words will usually be, yeah, but. Because that's where I I'm setting myself up to fail so that I'm right. And then the next time something similar happens, I can cite that as my visualization to not try it the next time. So yeah, it's really interesting how that visual perception of something like, okay, I've been in a really stressful, anxiety-filled situation and I made it through and I was fine. But there's also times where I've been in that situation and I've basically had to run out the front door. And I can't remember when I was fine, but I can certainly remember running out the front door. But why am I not applying both sides here? Why am I only applying the loss? Why am I not applying the victory? And really, the other isn't even a loss because you're in a situation to where you're bugging out and you're like, I need self-care. And that's your self-care, is I need to go somewhere where I can be calm and whatever. So either way, it's still a win, but you view it as a loss going into it. But yeah. Anyway, and the last thing I want to mention on there about this week was I listened to the Psych Central podcast off and on, and they've had a series on there of 3 podcasts, I think, where they talk about borderline personality disorder. And it's a really good series about something that most people have no clue about because it is super misunderstood by people. There's a ton of stigma around it. There's, so I highly recommend listening to it to gain some perspective on whether or not you know somebody, but even if you at any point in your life encounter somebody with it, that you can understand that, borderline personality disorder does not mean you have multiple personalities. It means that you are borderline. I don't want to say it wrong, but it's defined differently. But it's been so misunderstood over the years as that. And one of the podcasts is by a doctor who actually talks about how he feels that it's miscategorized essentially, and how the categorization of it is adding to the stigma. So, like I said, I highly recommend listening to them because I think they're all half an hour type podcasts, so they're quick listens too. And I like when podcasts like that do those kind of shows because it is something. It was like when I first learned more and more about OCD, that it's not just about, I have to wash my hands 10 times or take this many steps, that it's, if I go outside, I might kill someone. Like you convince yourself of stuff like that. Like, there's some really scary stuff in OCD that's not the, I just like to be neat, that everyone seems to keep pinning it with. Or bipolar, as Jen knows. Bipolar is another one. There's so many of these mental illnesses. Depression, people think it's just being sad, and bipolar or mania, they think that, that just means you immediately turn angry. And it's like, no, that's not actually what it is.
I'm not moody, I swear.
Yeah. So please, if you don't understand these things, instead of throwing terms around, as we've said a million times, please check out podcasts and things and learn about these things so that you can choose better words and also understand them, maybe, so that if someone around you has these things, you might be, able to be more of service to them. So there's my week. There was something else, but I absolutely don't remember what it is. I've already said enough. So if I remember it, maybe I'll write it down for next week.
We have had quite the full weeks.
Yeah. I was actually just thinking, because I'm looking and we're sitting at an hour.
I know.
And I kind of feel like maybe since we didn't have a show last week, that this week's show is just the catch-up. Yeah.
I'm thinking it's pretty much that's going to be the case, too.
Yeah.
Something I did remember, though, before we do our
No,
wrap-up.
sorry, we're out of time.
As one of the phrases, I guess would be the right word, that Heno refers to a lot and has brought into my world is does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said right now? And I actually added a fourth one to the mix. And the fourth one that I added is, does it help me reach my goal? And the reason I added that, and then I've been thinking about it for the last few weeks, and is because how often are we in a situation where we want to say or do or take action on something that it's really, in the end, it doesn't get you any further towards your goal than anything else. So that's another question I get to stop and ask myself. It's like, what is my end result? What is my goal? Will this get me there? If this is not furthering me on my journey to my goal, then it's not worth me spending my energy on that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share that with everybody.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I like that.
I've seen a lot of people who are like, very successful business people and whatever, and they will talk about the concept of always be moving towards your goal. And I've brought it up on here before where it's like, even if you hate your job and you realize I can't just quit. I can't do that because I need insurance or, a paycheck, obviously. But is there anything you can do to start moving you toward what you really want to do? Like, do you need to go to school? Could you register for, a class or two? Can you, whatever it is? But essentially it's like, like being a running back in the NFL is the key to that they tell the guys is always keep your feet moving. Because when you start standing still, you're going to get tackled. But if you can keep your feet here, wow, if you can keep your feet moving, you can just push through and, maybe gain extra yards. And that's the goal in the end, is maybe you don't gain 10, maybe you only gain 1, but the goal is to just keep moving forward. And I've said that about depression too. That's really the way I look at it, is my goal is to just not move backwards, because it's such a slippery slope that even though it feels like moving forward is all uphill, but if moving forward is all uphill, then that means any regression can become a quick descent, so knowing that it's one of those, like they tell you when you hit heights, like don't look down. And it's one of those, like with depression, it's like, don't look back, just keep your eyes on the road and keep pushing and all that. So I'm with you on that. And I've been trying to be more that way over the last year and stuff, is that, like I've said, I've talked about the shorter to-do lists and all those kind of things to where you can really cut things down as small as you can to where it's like, hey, I took baby steps today, but at least I took steps, and those are always wins. And of course, gratitude helps you move forward and stuff too, I read something, I didn't get to read the whole thing, and I'm very curious on it, that said that basically if every day you focus on 3 things you're grateful for, that across 21 days, you will see a marked improvement in your happiness level. Which I believe, because it's basically forcing you to be in a positive attitude, because you're looking at what you have that's good instead of focusing on what you maybe either don't have or is bad.
Perspective.
Yeah.
And
not,
that's one
not
of my
just a
favorite
class
sayings.
for art students. Yeah.
One of my favorite sayings is perspective is 9/10 of a situation. If you can't change the situation, you change the perspective.
Yep. Amen. We've talked about that plenty of times.
I love that one because, it ranks right up there with me as, what was the other one? Oh, I don't want to be playing checkers if you're playing chess.
Yeah.
the board looks the same, but the rules are completely different.
Right.
So
I thought you were gonna quote like a Yogi Berra quote, like, you know, if you come to a fork in the road, take it, like those kind of ones.
90% of the game is half mental.
Yeah. I have a book of like a lot of his like famous stuff, and it was one of the most enjoyable reads. And it's a really quick read because it's a small book, but man, I believe it's actually called "If You Come to a Fork in the Road, Take It," because it's got a picture of him like with his thumbs pointing either way, you know, on the cover. And I just absolutely, for those who don't know, Yogi Berra was a catcher for the Yankees for a long time. And he's known for just having some, you know, well, some of those quotes like we've just said that are that are just real special, but they're great. Like they're good for a great chuckle.
Yeah.
And I guess realistically, you know, it just like an artist statement, you can probably find some depth in there if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So, you know, whatever. But
Look, to be good.
yeah, I think so. I mean, I will be hopefully after I start taking my medicine again.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I have one last thing. I have a story today. I helped an elderly couple because they were getting their first vaccine today. And the guy who worked at the pharmacy asked them, he said, "I got to go get some more paperwork for you." And he said, "While I'm gone, you know," he's like, "when I come back, let me know which shoulder you want the shot in." And he left, and I could hear him. Like, I was in line, and they were sitting, there's chairs, like, off to the side, and they're sitting there, and they're looking at each other, and they're like, I don't know. And I looked at him, and I was like, well, here, and I told him, I was like, you know, if you don't mind, I have some perspective on this. And they were like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's, from what I've heard, you know, major side effect very common side effect is arm pain in the arm that you got the shot in, more so than the flu shot. So don't get it in your dominant arm, or if you sleep on one side mostly, maybe get it on the other side, because I've heard it hurts to sleep on that." Now, again, I don't know. I haven't had one yet, but I'm just going by what a few people have told me. And they were like, "Oh, like that's really helpful." So, and I even told him, I was like, "But, you know, talk to the guy when he comes back, because maybe he can, you know, corroborate what I said, or tell them don't listen to idiots like him, you know, whichever." But but it was interesting. I'm sure if he came back and they didn't know, he probably would tell them something similar because of what is out there. But it was good to see them very much like, "Yeah, we're doing this" kind of thing. You know, I thought it was really cool that they were very much like, they were proud that they were, you know, that they're out there doing it. So, you know, it was kind of a nice moment for them. And everything.
Yeah. My aunts and uncles and my mom and my mother-in-law and her sisters, they're all getting the vaccine, and they're very open about it. You know, it's like, I'm getting mine on Tuesday, and I'm getting mine on Wednesday, and you know, they're excited, and they're kind of proud that there's like, "Hey, I got it covered. I'm doing this." So it is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. I just like like I said, I just liked the attitude about it. Like, you know, like, damn right I'm getting it, you know, kind of, it was so, you know, I just love the, you know what it is? It's the greatest generation attitude.
That's it.
That's exactly what it is.
Everybody at my work is like that too.
Yeah.
And it is just so refreshing compared to everybody that is my age or younger.
Yep.
That is just, I'm like, you people baffle me.
Yep.
It is. Except you have the outliers like my father who won't get the shot.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's the thing. I appreciate like our local news, one of the local news stations. I love that they have like a text thing where you can text them questions and they will answer your questions. And they even in front, they're like, we're not here to talk you into it or talk you out. Like, we have no agenda in this. We're just, if you have a question, message us. We'll answer your question based on science. That's it, you know? And I was like, I appreciate that that's there, because there's a lot of that is lacking in news programming and stuff now, because a lot, you know, there's been a recession of trust in media and science and whatever over the last few years. And I like that they're very much like, kind of like, hey, this is a safe space. We're not judging you. We're not whatever. Just ask a question. We'll tell you, you know, we'll try to help you find the truth. And, you know, obviously you're going to make whatever decision you're going to make. So, yeah, it's nice to see some of that stuff popping up off and on, because like I said, you've seen so much of it over the last, how much ever long, since the 24-hour news cycle has taken over. It's just been a big, so one big woof.
One big woof.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, with that, everybody.
Okay, I take it back.
What
I swear this is it. I have one last thing. If you are going into a business, make sure you look. Like, if you see a gap, make sure you look to make sure that people aren't socially distancing and that the gap is there because they're waiting. They're just 6 feet back. I watched at the post office today, I watched two women walk right in and walk right up to the counter when there was a young lady waiting. Now, granted, she could have said something, but I like the fact that she was just like, whatever, you know. Yeah, you know, but neither of them, I saw both of them because I was at the counter. Neither of them turned and looked to see if there was anyone. They just got right up where they wanted to go. So if you go into a place, yeah, especially if it's a small place, you know, make sure there's not a line that you're cutting.
Oh my.
Yeah, I kind of laughed, and I heard her laughing about it because I think she was kind of seeing the absurdity of it too a little bit, that they weren't doing it to be jerks. They just walked in and, like Henno said, they were like, oh, short line, and just...
That's so funny.
Yeah. Wow. Yep.
Not quite as good as 6 Feet Harold, but pretty funny.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I was thinking about that the other day.
Yeah, I haven't seen a 6 Feet Harold moment in a while, honestly. I've seen more and more people actually giving that distance. So, except the grocery store, because that's the only place I noticed. The grocery store seems to be the one place that, you know, I was at Kroger today. They had roasts, buy one, get one free. And as I'm grabbing the roast that I was getting, there was a person walked up directly to my left and one directly to my right, to where, I mean, basically we could have started a kick line. You know, that's how close they were to me. You know, and I'm kind of like, so I scooped the two up that I wanted real quick and backed up real fast.
Right.
I was like, please
that
no.
That was identical to what happened. That was the Harold moment.
Yeah, exactly.
I was picking out meat, and a gentleman came up right next to me, and his wife was behind him, older gentleman. And
yep. 6 feet,
all
Harold.
I hear is, 6 feet, Harold. 6 feet.
I love it. I love it so much.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, that's a 6 Feet Harold story for those that are newer and heard it before.
Right.
But so, all right. Now, are we good?
Oh, wait. Yeah, I'm good.
All right, folks. Well, we covered a lot of ground tonight, but I'm sure there's stuff that you have questions about, concerns about, and just comments about. So, you know what to do. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can reach us at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com is our website. thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com is our email address. If you'd like to talk to me directly, feel free to reach out to me on the Twitters. I'm at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. And that's about it. I'm pretty much on Twitter, and that's about it. But, Henno, how can they reach you?
find me on Twitter at Ida Heno. You can find me on Facebook and see all the Benny that I post. Heno Heiter. Guess that it's all put it public, so anyone can go check it out. And also on Instagram. If you look up my name on Instagram, you'll find also the same thing. And my other podcast, Moving the Needle Podcast, we just did a test of time on the movie Predator. This week has just got released. It was a lot of fun. And coming up in a couple of weeks, we'll be releasing This is Spinal Tap versus Best in Show. That was a pretty fun episode to do.
Can't wait for that one. Yeah, that should be a good listen.
Mm-hmm.
And what a great reason to go back and revisit both films before listening.
Yeah.
You know, what a great opportunity to go watch two amazing satires. Man. So you can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other podcast at salty_language on Twitter or at saltylanguage.com. That show's not safe for work. And it's me and my best friend just talking about pop culture and whatever we kind of noticed in life and all that kind of stuff. Or, you know, this past week we were, you know, making back in my day references about The Undertaker because of his recent appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast and sounding like an old man, you know, an old cranky man. But you know, good fun. Like I said, not safe for work, so be careful, please. You can find this show on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/Crazy Life Podcast. We're part of the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. And yeah, if, you know, any of the links that you need for us, they're in the show notes if you ever need to find them. So, you know, there's that. Or hit one of us up on social media and we can help you find what you need for us. Dang, I forgot. There was something else I was going to say. Whatever. You know, please reach out to people. Make sure that they're doing okay. See what you can do to help. You know, this has been a weird week. I didn't mention it earlier. This has been a weird week, like around the area me and Jen live in, because, you know, we had a police officer that died in a shootout. Like, a guy came running out of a house and just opened fire on the cops, and it turns out it was my sister's and my brother's cousin. We have a different dad. That's why I'm not related to him, but it was their 24-year-old cousin, and it was, you know, just a real shame. I don't know him or anything, but it was still, you know, just people, even though, like, they're adults and stuff, it was amazing how they still, like, called my mom and were basically, they needed to talk to mommy, you know, and I'm not saying that in a mean or judgmental way. It was literally, that's what it was they needed that consolation from mom, you know. And so please reach out to people, you know, and make sure they're doing okay. Or if you need help, please reach out, of course. You know, again, there's all sorts of people out there willing to help you. And you're not alone. And I know it sucks and it's hard, but it's worth it. So please do so. Also, make sure you advocate for yourself at your doctor's office if they don't tell you that your psychiatrist is no longer with them, and don't refill your prescriptions. Make yourself a nuisance, because that counts as self-care. You're standing up for yourself and getting the medicine you need so that you have the best chance to be successful in your daily fight. So please don't let that slip away from you, Brian. People don't realize I'm literally just looking at myself in the Skype window while I'm giving that speech. Anyway, and of course, be kind when you can. You know, let two people cut in front of you at the post office and don't make a big scene about it. And, you know, whatever it is. But just try to please understand we're all going through something crazy and whatever right now. A lot of us are depressed, anxious, and, you know, and just try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt and just be kind when you can.
Absolutely.
San Dimas football rules. Sorry. No.
And with that, everybody go out there, have the best week you possibly can. And remember, spread the love, not the COVID.